Hello, my name is John and today on Mono Story we're going to be talking about my first thoughts on Silver Mountain. So let's get into it and find out what it's all about.
Wow, the room got a lot bigger somehow.
In this video we'll be using the first 27 chapters, that is the first 3 volumes of Silver Mountain, and using that as the basis for this video. The story starts off with our character known as Ginbei Heigo, and he is talking about his past to another individual who is writing that down. As he is talking about it, he states that he's not from the year 1820, but rather from the future. We then get a glimpse of him in the future where he is actually an old man who is living in Tokyo. He boards a train where he meets up with another character named Hyodo Saeki, and these two characters get into a fight. However, suddenly the train goes black. A figure known as a Tengu transports them to a new location. This location is known as the Spiral World, and the Tengu is punishing them, hoping for their deletion, and in doing so transforms the both of them into 10-year-old children. And the two of them now go on adventures throughout the Spiral World, fighting other Tengu or powerful enemies, as well as making new friends and allies as they try to get to the top of the mountain. When we talk about the story, we first have to talk about the art in it and how it is very unique. And originally I thought it was very bad and it didn't look very good. However, as I was reading the story, I got more and more used to it. It actually works for the story. It is a very beautiful art style. Some of these monsters, Tengu, villains, they don't work, as even the magic doesn't work without this art style. It really brings the characters, though they are very unique looking, actually to life. And it is only possible through this art style that the characters actually can be made, because there are some things in this story that are just so unique to the story. Which brings us to the world. This is one of the most phenomenal worlds I have ever seen. The Spiral World is one of the most unique places that can be explained in a story. The concept of magic being used is very beautifully done, as well as there being use of weapons, but also when we talk about our two main characters, they're using actual fighting techniques. So they're using their bare hands to fight against these other powerful villains, and they are doing it with such ease, which makes it a very compelling story. And some of these locations are just amazing. We have one scene where the characters are all in this forest, and it's such a beautiful forest. And then they get to this scene where they're in a port town, and it is very beautiful. Feels like something from medieval fantasy. And then they go to a castle, and even the castle looks amazing. It is all beautiful scenery and locations, and it just is so good to look at. And when we talk about the characters that are going to these locations, they are some of the best characters. Our two main characters are so interesting to learn about. Ginbei and Hyodo are some of the most very beautifully written characters that I've seen, because they have come from the future to the past, but they are still holding on to that information, and also they are speaking as they were 75, 85 years old, so they have that older sort of style of dialect, but they are still now in a smaller body of the 10-year-old. So it's very interesting how the dynamic works, how they have a whole entire lifetime of knowledge, and now they are reliving that again through their newfound youth. And we also have another character by the name of Sadie, and she is just amazing. Her fighting ability is very good, and the way she interacts with the other two main characters and their chemistry is so beautiful, but also Sadie is very attractive. Like, damn, she fine. And we're talking her legs look amazing. I mean, they really show up in the art, but I was like, damn, this is some good stuff. The villains in this story are also very in-depth and explained, as well as being just very good villains. So normally when you have a villain, you want to give their backstory to understand how they became a villain or what their villainous intent is. And some of these characters, they get really in-depth backstory to explain what their point or goal is. And one of them is this character recently by the name of Joffrey, and oh, it's amazing how he's this fire mage type of character who's fighting with Ginbei, and they're having this real interesting fight. And Sadia comes in and tries to stop one of these other girls from being taken by Joffrey, and it instantly comes into her putting her body on the line, and it just creates this whole entire epic fight that is just so beautiful to read. And I think one of the most recent things about the story that really changed it for me was the introduction of Ginbei's wife, and how he lost his wife, and how him and Hodor acted differently in that situation. Now, some of the issues I do have with the story is that it can be very fast paced. So we do move from one location to another location, and things can happen very quickly. So if you're not careful, you will miss out on parts of the story that are very important. And lots of things are happening in a very short period of time. So you've just got to be aware that some moments will happen very quickly, and in a few pages they'll be finished, and you'll be like, what just happened? So that's an issue with the story. And another is just the simple premise of the story. I understand these characters have been isekai'd, so they're now in a different location, but what is their goal of being in that location? Is their goal to get back to their future self, or is their goal to stop this Tengu who's trying to delete them? And so it doesn't really specify that that's their main purpose. It just is that they're going around helping out people as they go through this world of the Spiral World. And so it isn't very explanatory as to what the purpose of the story is. And that is my first thoughts on Silver Mountain. And I think this story is very good in regards to its art, characters, and the world itself is just absolutely gorgeous to look at. However, the pacing of the story and the premise needs to be fully explained. Once these two things have been fixed, whether it be the story slowing down a little bit and the premise being more prevalent within the story, then we might get an actual bigger picture to the story, as well as something we can follow more easily. That being said though, I would highly recommend you read this story. It is very interesting. It has a very unique spin on the isekai genre. It's very unique. There isn't really any other story that I know of that does something like this, as well as being an isekai. So this story is something that is in its own world, if I want to put it that way. Not trying to be ironic or anything, but that is what makes this story so good. However, I want to hear what you think about Silver Mountain. Do you think it's a good story or not, and why? So please write that down in the comment section below. My name is John from Mono Story. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and press the bell button, please do so. If you want to watch another video, clip up above. If not, until next time, I will see you on another Mono Story.